Here we are again, Michael. Episode 9.
Episode 9.
Brought to you by Natty Light.
Yep. Need a sponsorship.
Oh, I thought we signed that already, no?
No, Yaneen's in charge of that.
So, you know, I'm a Falcons fan.
Yep.
Quarterback Matt Ryan goes by the nickname of Matty Ice.
Correct.
Did you think that was because he has ice running through his veins? Cool under pressure?
Went to Boston College. I imagine he's a heavy drinker.
Well, he happens to be a member at the golf course,
Yeah.
and I asked him that question specifically. And the deal is, he used to drink a lot of Natty Ice at Boston College.
Yep.
And then in college, they started calling him Matty Ice.
We went through a natty ice phase back in high school into early college because it's dirt cheap and 5.9% alcohol.
It's not bad.
Knock you on your ass. Well, this is Natty Light. Natty Ice is 5.9%. It tastes like gasoline more often than not.
Yeah.
It was a fun crowd I was running with then. It was I moved to Kansas City in my junior year. Didn't really make any friends. Didn't really have a very good attitude. But ended up hanging out with these guys second half of my senior year called the Posse, which is interesting because those are my wrestling guys now. It's the 3MP Posse, and they were a fun bunch. Got into fights all the time, drinking beers, and I was pretty straight laced. So a lot of times I was the driver. Sometimes I was the getaway driver. We burned a house down one time, which was interesting. True story. They were building a new development. It was like
I love how you just threw that in there. We burnt a house down one time.
Yeah, it was wild. I'm still worried. Sometimes I'll wake up at night after having a dream that they came for us. But we were it was a development that was being built behind the development that I lived in. And it was all farmland. It's out in Kansas City. So it was all farmland. So you got 1,000 acres. I don't even know how much it would have been that they cleared and they put the roads in. But they hadn't built any houses yet and they hadn't put the sewers in yet. So you had big cement pipes. And there was this old farmhouse that was still standing on the property. And so one summer, that was our hangout. We would go out to the farmhouse and we'd go into the neighborhood that hadn't been built yet. And we'd throw parties in these big, concrete cylinders. And yeah, you do it for a little while, and high school kids get kind of bored. And so let's go into the farmhouse. And so then you'd have, you'd be there with 15, 20 people, and 5 or 6 of them would go into, the farmhouse, and they'd do, whatever they do. And then they'd come back, hey, we're in the farmhouse, sitting on the couch in the farmhouse, just chilling, whatever. And okay, no big deal. One night, one of my buddies, C-Rock, comes
Chris
running.
Rock?
Nope, C-Rock. Because we burned a house down that night, I'm not going to actually use his real name. He just goes by C-Rock. He comes running back to where we all were, and he's like, the farmhouse is on fire. What do you mean the farmhouse is on fire? And we lit the couch on fire, and now the whole house is on fire. And I looked at the farm. First, I was like, "What? Quit fucking around." And I looked at the farmhouse, and it looked like the lights were on the inside of the house. And I was like, "Well, they got
soft glow.
They've got furniture, so maybe they have lights." I'm like, "Whatever. I'm going home." So I got my geo tracker, me and my buddy, and we drove out of the neighborhood down to the McDonald's, sitting at the McDonald's drive-through, and then we hear sirens and friggin' fire trucks start flying past us, and we turn around and look up on to the hill where the neighborhood and then the farmhouse were, and the sky is glowing,
ablaze, and
you're like, holy shit, he burnt the fucking farmhouse down. And then we were obviously in a massive panic. Now, in reality, other than having a couple of natty ices, we didn't really do anything wrong, me and the guy I was with, but we were panicked. So we met the other guy who drove the other car out there. We met him at like gas station or something, and we ended up in his basement. Like, all right, here's the story. we
were
there.
Nowhere near the farmhouse.
This is what we were doing, and then we were playing video games.
Where were you last night, boys?
Not
nowhere near the farmhouse.
No, we weren't close to the farmhouse. And so we got our story down, and then we went home, and my parents woke up, the family, and probably 3 o'clock in the morning because they smelled smoke. It was fairly close to our house. They thought our house was on fire, but it was the damn farmhouse. And I tell you, man, there was several months. We were in high school, and anytime, the loudspeaker would go on in the classroom and they need someone to go to the principal's, like we were just petrified.
They've got us.
That we were going to go to jail for burning down the farmhouse. And then we started to think about, they're going to have to take that farmhouse down anyway to build this new neighborhood. So they probably ended up just collecting some insurance on it.
You did them a favor.
Burnt down. We did them a favor. They took the money, and no one ever came after us. So
speaking of insurance, I have an interesting story from just this past week.
Really?
So my mum and dad are in town from England, staying in an Airbnb currently.
Yep.
Well, they were. They've moved out now. My dad had a little Keurig machine in the room, and all was well until the time that he forgot to put the cup underneath the Keurig machine. And then the coffee poured out on the table onto the floor. No big deal. Clean it up.
Yeah.
They had some carpet people come out there. And anyway, they couldn't get the stain out, allegedly. And now the lady is telling my parents that she has to get a new carpet. And the room is about, I don't know how big. It's not very big. But the lady's telling them that the carpet's going to cost $7,500.
It's a magic carpet. Maybe it'll fly him back to England.
Yeah, anyway, so, but she doesn't have insurance, allegedly. So I'm you know what? I'm gonna get involved.
I would go after her. So what we got on the agenda this weekend here? We got big fight Saturday night. You into boxing?
Right.
You into boxing?
England versus the world. America.
America, yeah. Boxing is a global sport. And when Deontay Wilder knocks out,
you could be the world champion at boxing because they let all the countries have a shot.
Yeah, they also
anyway.
Have,
I don't want
have
to
19 belts, so boxing is a bit.
Yeah, but you can be the unified.
Else. No.
So we got Fury
Tyson
versus
Fury,
Wilder,
the Gypsy King from England,
yeah,
versus Deontay Wilder from Alabama, I believe.
Yeah,
who you got?
I might watch that one. I'm gonna go with the English guy. Why not?
I'm probably gonna go with the American guy. Hope he wears the trunks that Apollo wore in Rocky IV right before he died.
Yeah, he might. I haven't watched a boxing bout in over a year, I would say. So I usually watch about one a year. I think this might be the weekend I do it.
Remember, we got the what was it, Mayweather-Pacquiao fight? Remember that at your place?
Oh, yeah.
We had a couple of young guys that were working with us, Zach Feeler, and he said, let's watch the fight, and we're gonna play Wizard Sticks.
Oh, that's
like, what the hell is Wizard Sticks? And he goes, you each get a case of beer, and every time you drink one, you duct tape it to the bottom of the next one. And after you drink enough, you've got a wizard staff. And he goes, and then the first two guys who finish their case of beer, they have a staff that's 24 beers tall, and then they joust and see who built the strongest staff. And it's set like it sounds funny. In reality, it's funnier because have you ever tried to drink something that's friggin' 45 inches long, and you go to pick it up to drink it, and it hits the guy over there, and by the end of the night, you're inside. So you gotta you're standing on top of tables and stuff. You're standing on top of furniture, trying to
yeah, that was a good time. I've
staff.
Completely forgotten about that.
That was fun.
But there is a photograph of us in my backyard with our wizard sticks.
Yep.
Isn't there another game where you duct tape?
Edward 40 hands.
Yeah.
2 40s, duct tape them to your hands. Can't go to the bathroom until they're both done, or you got to get help. And whoever finishes their 40s first wins. What do you win? I don't know. We
you win at life.
This is great. So my brother went to Kansas State University, Manhattan, Kansas, the Little Apple.
The Wildcats.
Yep. And it was his sophomore year, I think. And I was a senior at KU. The last day of classes, then they call it like stop day, and it's like the biggest party day of the year, right? And so he was throwing an 1980s party that night. And so I loaded up a couple of my buddies from KU, my sister, and some of our friends from Kansas. Everyone, went out to Manhattan. This is actually a multi-layered story here. And they started at 4 o'clock. We had to be in these guys' backyard. 4 o'clock p.m. Yep. We were going to a keg race, right? Okay. And there was teams of 6 or 7 people, right? and each team had their own keg. So you were responsible for bringing your own keg to the race, right? And then the team that finishes the keg first wins another keg. There's rules, right? So obviously you can drink out a cup, or you can do keg stands, whatever. You had to finish the keg. If you threw up, they had a stage set up. It was like a deck, but it wasn't like attached to the house. It was like in the corner. It was a legit stage in their backyard where the umpires, the referees were. They had on like the Foot Locker referee shirts, right? And then they would mingle through the crowd, make sure no one was cheating and pouring out beer. If you threw up, you had to go up onto the stage with the wiffle ball bat, and you had to spin around 25 times. If you threw up, you had to do that, which then made them throw up again. And that was the penalty for throwing up. And that's how they started the night. And that was before it was going to be the biggest party of the year. My brother lived in these townhouses, and they had two big townhouse units with probably 8 townhouses in each that were combining for this big party. And we bought so many cases of Natty Light, but then we didn't want
we didn't
want people to take the Natty Light on their own, and we're going to hand them out as the party's going. So we got rid of a bed, kept the mattress, got rid of a bed, and then just stacked 30 packs of Natty Light, and then put the mattress on top of it. So it was like a bed of Natty, and then put the sheets and blankets and all that stuff over it, right? And my buddy Biggie was coming in from Kansas City, and another buddy had to wait for him to get off work to drive him out to Manhattan. Biggie got there, and he got there at 6 o'clock. So it was after the keg race. The keg race was done in 25 minutes. I'm like, what the heck? People just
it depends on how many people you have around the keg, I suppose.
Well, I think there was a limit because you had to register for it, and teams had names. Some of them had uniforms, right?
Yeah.
So Biggie gets to Manhattan at about 6 o'clock, and is wasted, passed out by 6:45.
It's a strong
Biggie's
effort.
a big dude, especially this time. I mean, God bless him. He's lost over 100 pounds now. But at this point, he's probably maybe 5'10", and at this point in his life, he was probably 320, right?
So we could put him away.
Passes out
allegedly.
in 45 minutes on top of the bed that we had all of the beer under.
Stashed.
And we couldn't move him. And so I was like, hey, I'm gonna teach Biggie a lesson. And so I grabbed a piece of paper and a pen. I couldn't budge him, couldn't get him awake, couldn't move him because he's huge. I grabbed a piece of paper and I wrote "kick me" on it, pulled the back of his pants down, and stapled it to his ass, like on Jackass. So I stapled a "kick me" sign to his ass. And when we needed beer all night, we'd go upstairs, we'd kick him, and then we'd try to wedge a 30-pack out from underneath the bed. Amazing. Some good Biggie stories.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about those yet.
So back to the fight.
Yeah.
Or back to
Airbnb.
So
it was a fight. It was Roy Jones Jr. against somebody. That was a fight that night.
Oh, that was your point.
So there was a fight that night, and then it started raining. So everyone goes into all the apartments, and then the cops show up. And my brother's apartment was ground zero. It's where all the beer was. It was it. So the cops show up. My brother is a sophomore in college. He's 19, 20 years old. Not
underage.
Underage. So are all of his roommates. Who wasn't underage? Me. So it's now 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm standing out in the rain talking to the police. They put me in the back of the cop car. I ended up getting a ticket for disturbing the peace in Manhattan, Kansas, because I was the only one who was actually old enough to have a beer and took the fall for the crew. So it was a hell of a memory, that one was.
So my freshman year of college at the esteemed Bury College, I'd been to university in England for a year, so I was well acquainted with the drinking option. Came to Bury, as you know, and Tri Campus. Anyway, I went to a house party my first semester, and again, I'm straight off the boat. We're all standing in the kitchen, having a good time. And then all of a sudden, people started running out that back door, and they were saying 5-0, 5-0. Well, I didn't know what that meant. So I just leaned on the counter, drinking my beer. I was 19. And next thing you know, I'm chatting to a cop. And he goes, "Sir, have you been drinking?" I literally had a beer in my hand, and I was like, "Well, honesty is the best policy." My parents always, told me that. I go, "Yes, sir," and he goes, "Are you under the age of 21?" I go, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Okay, you're going to jail." So I went to jail within me. Luckily, 4 or 5 of the guys from the golf team went to jail that night. Because I think if I was the only one, I could have been toting my ass back. But considering the most of the team were in jail, we ended up doing like sprinting and running and whatever. What's funny about how the cops even showed up? So we're all in the townhouse having a good time. There's a guy, one of these country boys from Floyd County. He's out in the parking lot, and it was, it wasn't on campus. These were just, townhomes in Rome. So there were regular people that lived in these townhomes. And this guy showed up, and he had one of those trucks that had like the CB radio thing, and he had the big, speaker on the 2 speakers, I think, on the top of his big truck with the big wheels. And he was outside messing around going, "This is the police, come out with your hands up," right? Well, some lady 3 doors down comes out, and he goes, "No, not you, you fat bitch, go back inside." And then she called the cops. True story.
At that same place that my brother lived there in Manhattan, they at that same party, country boy like who you're describing, gave this dude John a shot, telling him it was whiskey. It was rifle cleaner. He ended up in the hospital that night. The kid almost died. It was terrible. But they bought like a beat up old van, like an old white like work van, right?
Uh-huh.
Installed the big speaker in it where they could talk on the CB and talk to people. Spray painted it purple, black, and silver camouflage because that's Kansas State colors, right? Took a bunch of benches from like old benches from like a bar that they were getting rid of, threw them in the back, and that was their tailgate machine. So on game day in Manhattan, they would load 20 people into this van, coolers and everything, and they would cruise to the stadium for the tailgate, yelling and playing music over the speakers on the outside. But there was an issue with the exhaust, and so the exhaust came into the truck, into where everyone was. So you would get to the stadium and you'd be fucked, and you didn't really know what the hell was going on. You're
fucked.
You were like high, and it's like 9 o'clock in the morning because they're nuts. And so wild experience. That's funny.
Anyway, so back to the fight.
We got the fight. Yep. You ever been in a fight? You ever been punched in the face?
Well, I don't know if we've talked about this before, Michael, but I'm more of a lover than a hater. But yes, I have been in 2 official fights in my life, and I've knocked 1 person out, all separate events. So I got into 1 fight in middle school. It was actually one of my good buddies, Scott Backus. We were buddies, and then something happened. Then all of a sudden, we weren't buddies.
That involved
and then there was tension, and then there was like Ed and Scott are going to fight, and I was really nervous about it. But it was one of those things where it's happening today at lunchtime over there in the corner. And, I didn't, I guess, want to back down. But, I used to play a lot of soccer with Scott. He was a lot bigger than I was. Anyway, so I kind of put my dukes up, and I think I was trying to get a good stance. So I had my legs ajar. And before I threw a punch, he kicked me as hard as he could in the balls. And the fight was over. The bout was over. It was serious pain. That was my first fight.
Number 1.
So I was probably, 11 or 12 for that one. Didn't get into another altercation until my 19th birthday in a lovely place called Grimsby in England.
Birthday fights are fun.
Yeah. So we're in a nightclub that happens to be at the end of a pier. I think the nightclub is called Pier number 39 or something. And something happened in the nightclub. They were going back to our boy Fury. There were basically some gypsies, pikeys in the nightclub.
Gypsy King.
These were some of his disciples.
Okay.
And somebody pushed a girl. Our crowd got a little involved, but nothing too crazy. A couple of people got thrown out of the nightclub. Well, then when we came out of the nightclub, walked all the way down to the pier, to the main road where we were going to get some taxis, all the pikeys were waiting for us. And I took a I took a right hand to my jaw or my
Mhm.
nose or something. It's the first time I've ever seen stars
Yeah.
like you do in
Bugs
the
Bunny.
cartoons.
Yeah.
And that didn't feel good. So I bowed out fairly quickly. Luckily for us, our crew, my buddy Sharpie, was trying to get into the Green Berets at the time, which is, kind of the elite level military. So he was training like crazy, going on 30-mile hikes on the weekend with,
I've
weight
hiked
in his
maybe 30
backpack.
miles in my entire
Yeah, he was
life
doing
combined.
push-ups, sit-ups. He was in very
Maybe.
good shape. And
Stretch.
so Sharpie, it was like something out of a Bruce Lee movie. It was him. So I was out. I took one punch and I was, this isn't my cup of tea. It's my birthday. I think I told that to the guy. I go, it's my birthday. Don't hit me. And so I was out. My buddy, the Weasel, Andrew Ritchie, he sat on a wall the entire time, smoking a cigarette, watching us get our asses kicked. Another one of my buddies, Ed Tomlin, had just had ACL surgery, and he got punched in the face and told the guy that he had a prosthetic limb. Anyway, so it was basically Sharpie versus 7 or 8 pikeys, and it was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. He got very lucky. He was just punching, swinging elbows, kicking, and literally, this is kind of how I remember it, dropped everybody. And he ended up with his shirt off as well. One of them ripped his shirt off. So he's standing in the streets, bunch of people watching at this point, bunch of cabs waiting, and Sharpie has dropped all of them. And then they pulled out a knife. And at which point we ran away as fast as we could.
You gotta know when to hold them. Mm-hmm. Know when to fight.
What's the expression? You don't want to show up to a knife fight or gunfight with a knife. You also don't want to show up to a regular,
you don't want to show up to a knife fight with a fist. Yeah.
Yeah.
High point of Sharpie's life.
It was. We actually spoke to him recently. That was the highlight of his life, and it's pretty much gone downhill ever since then. That was it. He peaked in 1995.
Oh man. Hey, something inside of a man changes when they get punched in the face.
Absolutely.
I feel like every man should get punched in the face at some point.
At least once.
It jars something inside of you that keeps you in check. And you can tell
who hasn't been
punched in the face. Spend a little bit of time with someone whether or not they've been punched in the face.
If you're listening right now and you've never been punched in the face and you're a guy,
get into it this weekend.
Listen up.
Do it. The person... Donald Trump has never been punched in the face. Never. You know who's been punched in the face? Biggie. Biggie's been punched in the face.
Uh-huh. Just based on your face,
dude.
I would say you've been punched in the face multiple times.
I've been punched in the face multiple times. That's how I started going bald. You know that? So
punched the hair off of you?
Kinda. The concrete that they slammed me on
took
some of the hair off. This guy was peeing on my tire outside the dorm in college.
You've actually told the story before, Mike. Did
I tell you this one?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the beginning of the receding hairline. So,
no, but you're right. Getting punched in the face will make you sort of think about what you're about to do.
Yeah, it's accountability
moving forward.
It's the most brutal and primal form of accountability. If I do this, I'm going to get punched in the fucking face, and I'll likely deserve it. And so it makes your decision making process a bit clearer when there's consequences.
Yeah.
I punched Biggie in the face one time, and I still feel bad about it to an extent. We were at this Halloween party.
I feel bad for Biggie. No, if you're listening, Biggie.
No, Biggie, you've made it. You've come out on the other end. We were at this Halloween party. Back in probably 99, 2000, maybe 2001. I don't know. But
do you know what people in Alabama do for Halloween, Mike?
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin.
It was back whenever it was trendy for girls' Halloween costumes all to be hookers, right? So it was the trendy Halloween costume.
Okay.
And so we're at this Halloween party at a friend of ours' house. And having a great time.
Hey, by the way, Baker, Halloween isn't until October.
Yeah, take the furry costume off. What are you doing? And Biggie has a few to drink, and he starts to get down on himself because at the time he didn't have a girlfriend, and like all these hookers walking around, and none of them are even talking. I'm like, Biggie, calm down. These are our friends. Be respectful. Yes, they're dressed that way, but they're not really hookers. And he keeps carrying on and getting louder and louder and louder. And so I said to my buddy Dusty, go take him in back and get him to calm down. And he does. And then I just start hearing from the backyard, he's yelling. So I go back up. I grab him by his shirt. I go, man, calm down. What's going on? Like, relax. And intoxicated, and I was as well, stumbled, and he's now.
I find that hard to believe.
He's on the ground. And I'm kind of on top of him. I'm still got him by the shirt. I'm like, man, you got to calm down. You got to shut your mouth, or I'm going to knock you out. And he goes, well, you better knock me out then. So I did. I reached back and jacked him right in the face, which is, I feel horrible about it now. And out cold immediately. And
night.
And I go, oh, shit. And so I get up and I walk back around the front. I go, yeah, he's quiet now. We're going to see him for a minute. And about 20 minutes later, Biggie comes walking around from the back of the house and has no clue what happened. Zero idea what has transpired here. And I'm like, all right, it's time for us to go. So we get back in the Geo Tracker. I don't remember who was driving. We had this little Asian guy named Sock. We call him Sock Money. He was with us because he liked to hang out with us because we were fun. And fun. Biggie didn't think we were fun then, I guess. But so I'm in the passenger seat. I think Dustin must have been driving. Sock is behind me, and then Biggie's behind the driver's seat. And so I look back, and then I look again, and his whole face. It's like, kind of like when a cartoon character gets bumped on the head and just, right, his whole face is. I'm like, holy shit, and broke his friggin' orbital bone right here. Yeah.
It's nothing to be proud of, Michael. That's your friend.
I feel horrible. Again, and then I was the best man at his wedding.
Hey, it's the thing about guys versus girls. Guys can have major discrepancies. Bang it out, so to speak, and then they're cool again. Let's go grab a beer. Women, on the other hand, will hate each other for centuries.
Over something that was said that wasn't even really said. It was just how it was perceived in one of their heads, Yeah. Which I hate that. But Biggie, if you're listening, I love you, and I would not have knocked you out had you not told me to. In my defense,
following instructions.
Yeah, I was just following instructions. Any other good fight stories? I've been in a few fights. The one about when the guy was peeing on my car. It wasn't a truck.
Oh, by the way, I didn't finish. I've been in 2 fights and I've knocked one guy out.
Okay.
When I was probably about 8 or 9, I was doing some karate moves with my buddy Bjorn Gent, who's Swedish. Hope you're doing well, Bjorn. Bjorn Gent, yeah, or Gent. I forget how we pronounced it. But we were. After school, we were in the guest room at my mom and dad's house, jumping up and down on the bed, doing karate moves. And I caught him with a sort of roundhouse kick, or at least what I thought might have been that, right on his chin, out. And then I was like, ooh, oh, wake up, buddy.
Sorry.
Yeah, so that was sort of an accident. Well, not really, because I was trying to do it, but you didn't. It wasn't like I knew what I was doing.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's it.
We went.
I don't like fighting, Mike.
No.
It's not good. Doesn't suit me.
Me and my buddy Cornette got in a bar fight a year ago, and I was like, bro, I'm 38 at the time. He's 42. I'm like, we can't get in bar fight. What the hell are we doing? His wife started. Amazing. When I was in high school, me and my buddy Mike Desimone went around the cafeteria at school for about 2 months, like after everyone would buy their lunch, and this back people carried cash. Hey, you got any change? We collected all this change until we had enough change to go to the mall to service merchandise to buy a pair of boxing gloves because we wanted a box, right? But we only had enough for one pair. So
you, hang on, let me just backtrack here. You basically begged other people for money.
Yeah, so we could go get gloves so we could fight each other.
All right.
Yeah, why not? And so we get this pair of boxing gloves, and then we set up like a little, 9th grade fight club at Mike's house. We put a mattress on the floor.
The first rule of Fight Club is you beg for money on the front
money
end.
to get gloves, right? Well, so we set up this this, king size mattress on the floor. We would go to the old like TV guide channel because it had the little clock that counted down like minutes and seconds in the corner. And that's how we would time the rounds. But we had to rotate. So like in the first round, if I had the right glove, he'd have the left glove. You could only use the hand that had the glove on it. And then the second round, you'd switch gloves. And so
and you never thought to save up for a second set of gloves?
Well, I think probably the plan was to get a second set of gloves. What are you going to do? Let the first set just sit there and not fight in the meantime?
Yeah. Well, no, I get in the short term.
Yeah.
You go with what you got.
Yeah. So and then it got fun because that was part of the challenge was one-handed fighting.
You're like, oh, I got to go left-handed
now
for the next 2 minutes. This could be
like the Fight Club move. It got bigger and bigger, and we'd have 5 or 6 guys after school would go over to Mike's house and we'd fight each other. And at first, this is the first time I ever knocked anyone out. It was fighting Bobby Stever, and he hit me good and rattled me to where my brain wasn't working clearly. And then I came back and I hit him with my glove hand, but then just natural instinct, I combo and clocked him with my non-glove hand,
bare fist,
and boom,
bare knuckles,
boom, done. He was out.
Yeah,
that was the first time I knocked anyone out. The second time was Biggie. Those are the only 2 that I've knocked out in my life. I've not been knocked out, thank God.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time.
I'm retired. Yeah,
with a face and a mouth like that over there.
Face. I mean, that's kind of what happened.
By the way, Mike, I think I've said this before. You have the absolute perfect face for radio and podcasts.
You said a lot of the same shit over and over again, but I'm humoring you for the sake of our audience.
Yeah,
it's entertaining.
Always entertaining, Michael.
Yep.
Well, you ever come up with any inventions?
Oh, we're going to start this. Yeah, I invented quite a few things. And honestly, I shouldn't be sitting here with you
talking to me
right now. I should be on a friggin' yacht somewhere. So you want to know what I invented? I invented the Swiffer, and I invented Instagram.
Yeah.
Both.
What did you do with it?
Well, not get paid. I didn't do anything. No. So I made it. So in fourth
ideas
grade,
are worthless, Michael.
Fourth grade,
take some action.
So 4th grade, right? We had this little competition, and it was called Invent America or something, right?
Uh-huh.
And I invented with the help of my mom.
So if you win Invent America, do you become the world champion inventor?
Yeah.
Okay. Just clarifying.
No, apparently you don't, because I didn't even win, but someone's making billions off my fucking Swiffer. So I invented the one move mop with the help of my mother. Give her a shout out. She's like, Mike, I wish that there was a mop that had the soap and water in it already, and then just had a little tube that you could put it. So it was the one move mop. I filmed a little infomercial, little 4th grade me, invented that shit. Nothing. Not a cent. It cost me money because I had
and
to buy a
now
fucking
your
mop.
teacher is
my teacher now is retired. Yeah. She's doing great.
Hey, Mike, this is a really good idea.
Mike, I don't think it's gonna work.
Do you have the drawings for it by any chance? Thanks. I'm gonna go home tonight and grade them, and I'll get back to you.
Yeah. So I invented the Swiffer, and then I invented Instagram. 2008. Facebook was coming out or whatever. It was out, I guess, and it was becoming more popular. And I was like, I don't want to read the thoughts on your mind. I don't want to read your shit. Just show me a cool picture. And I was like, why don't we make an app? It's just the pictures. Like, forget the words. Like, I don't give a shit how you feel. Like, show me something cool. And now I'm going to make an app that's just the pictures. And I was going to call it Peek. It's going to be a little peek into your world. And,
but then you did nothing with it.
Didn't do that either. No.
Yeah. Oh, well.
So, I'm due. So that was, 2 great ideas. And I was 28 at the time. So every, 14 years. So I'm about due.
All right.
Stay tuned, brother. Something else is coming.
Well, here's what it's going to be, right? All the biggest companies now, they're just middlemen. Mm-hmm. Airbnb.
Owns no property.
Uber.
Owns no cars.
Alibaba.
I don't know what they do.
They sell a lot of shit, but they don't own any of the shit.
Like Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we got to come up with something.
We could sell funny stories to people who are just lame as fuck and have no stories of their own. You gotta monetize this stuff, Baker. Come on.
Right. Oh, who's that? It's Natty Light on the phone. Hang on.
Oh, good. Here we go.
Oh, hang on. Yes. Okay. Well, how about 60? 30. Oh,
God,
all right.
refill,
I
refill,
just struck a
please.
deal, Mike.
They're
I just
so
struck a
good.
deal with Natty Light.
They're so good.
They're going to give us, you know what they're going to give us?
What?
30 cans.
Yeah, for $16.
Yeah, we're on our way, baby.
Probably. Woo!
All right, Michael. It's time to go throw some darts and
Yep.
continue the nonsense.
Back to work.
All right, brother. Good chatting to you.
Always is, buddy, and it's funny.
Because it's true.